rough outline of Two Faces Have I, written in 1963 by Twyla, Herbert, and Lou Christie, made famous by Lou Christie. I have it capoed up here on the 5th fret. Everything I say will be relative to that capo. If I say I'm playing a C, it's going to look like this, even though that's truly an F. This is the key that Lou Christie sings it in. This song is in 5 parts. Each part has the same 4 chords. It is a C, an A minor, an F, and a G. All variations on those chords in each part. The intro starts off with this A minor to a G to an F to a C. And the melody is what you're doing there for the A minor, you're hitting an E as your melody, and then for the G, go from the E to the D as your melody, and then when you get to the F, the D is your melody, E, and then when you get to the C chord, it's the D and the C is your melody. And then you hit this G note to go into the next part. So the intro. And then move into the first part. This first part is a C chord hitting a C and a G on the 2nd and 3rd strings is your melody. And then you move to an A minor chord, hitting a G as your melody. Then you move to the F chord, hitting an A on the 5th fret. So it's 5, 3, open, D on the 2nd string. Then you move to your G chord. And the melody for that G chord is E, G, E, D, B, G. So this first run is and then repeats. Then you move to the next part. C chord, hitting the 4th string, E is your melody, and then you go to the A chord, staying on the E as your melody, then you go to the F chord, and then there you're hitting an F, G, your melody for the G chord. Later on, you play this exact same melody an octave higher. That's E, E for the melody. And then when you get to the F, it's F for the melody. G, and then E, D for the melody. So this run is then you repeat, and then you go back to the first part. Then you move to the next part, the Two Faces Have I. C and an A minor. C is E and D is the melody, and then C is your melody for the A minor chord. Do that again. Do it a third time. What you're doing there is an F chord, playing a D as your melody, so it's an F6. And I'm just playing strings 4, 3, and 2. And the melody is D. And then when you get to the G chord, you have an open E. And back to the C. G note, and then back to the A minor. And repeat it all. And then you move to the next part. The next part starts off with an F. And the first run of this part is an F chord. Hitting your third string is your melody. You go to a G chord, hitting your open B on the second string is your melody. You go to your C chord and you hit strings 2, 3, 4, and then you go to an A chord, hitting the B and the third string. So the first 4 chords of this part are. Back to the F, hitting your third string, hitting your B on the G chord, and then you go back to the F, hitting the third string, and then when you get to the G, it's and that's E, D, C, D. And then back to the end it